right, welcome to the masterclass on the liver. Today we're going to talk literally about our liver. Our liver is wood energy. It's a yin organ. And this is an interesting thing. So a yin organ is when we think of more feminine energy. It's a more gentle system, which also means it's a more sensitive system, okay? And when a lot of people think of their liver, they're thinking of some of the emotions that are tied to it. And so you might think it's yang, okay? But it's definitely yin. So what is our liver responsible for? Our liver is responsible for filtering. That's what most people know. It's responsible for filtering, detoxing, and most people kind of stop there. But the liver has over 600 functions, okay? So filtering, detoxing, nourishing, replenishing, and storing blood. It is called the general or the chief of staff because it is literally the general over so many things. The liver stores large amounts of sugar in the form of glycogen, which it releases into the bloodstream as glucose when the body needs extra metabolic energy. We're going to go over that a little bit later because there were some questions about intermittent fasting. It receives all amino acids from food by the small intestine. It's very connected to the small intestine and recombines them to synthesize the various proteins required for growth and repair of bodily tissues. So just right there, the liver is doing a tremendous amount, right? It is giving us our energy when we need it, and it is synthesizing our amino acids. It is filtering, detoxing, nourishing, replenishing, and storing blood, okay? 2, it regulates muscle tension and activity. This is a little known fact. Most people do not relate how tense their body feels to the state of their liver. It is, we would call it in traditional Chinese medicine, it is responsible for the sinews, so for the tendons and the ligaments. So when people think, oh, I'm just too tight, or I have this wonky knee and I can't go and do exercise, we actually need to look at the state of the liver and what's going on there. So the liver controls the peripheral nervous system, which regulates muscular activity and tension. The inability to relax is often caused by a lot of liver dysfunction or imbalance in the wood energy. Liver energy also controls the ligaments and the tendons, which I just said, which together with muscles regulate motor activity and determine physical coordination. So sometimes people think, I'm just not naturally coordinated. I can't do this or that. Maybe we should take a look at what's going on in the liver, how we've been eating, how we were raised, and see what we can do. And you might be very, very happily surprised at what we can do. Liver function is reflected externally in the condition of the fingers and fingernails and toenails, and the eyes and our vision, okay? Blurry vision is often a liver issue and rather than an eye problem. And a lot of people don't know this, but even Western medicine will notice that if you're jaundiced, you're going to have yellow eyes, right? That is from the liver. 3, the liver is responsible for growth and development. For growth and development of drive, desire, ambition, and creativity. So when our liver is going well, we are creative, we have tons of drive and desire, and we're super ambitious, right? So obstruction of liver energy can cause intense feelings of frustration, rage, and anger. And in turn, these emotions disrupt that liver energy. So if there's something imbalanced at the liver, you might have rage and anger and frustration. Or if you're having a lot of rage, anger, and frustration, you might damage your liver energetically with those emotions. Okay. And the thing is, this is a super destructive, vicious cycle that can actually end in a lot of apathy and in depression, not doing anything because you kind of burnt yourself out. Okay. So let's talk about the liver. The parent organ is the gallbladder. It's like this little thing that sits inside the liver. Okay. They're very paired together in their function. The color it's representative is deep green. So think like bile, right? The its physicality is noticed in the eyes, the tendons, the tears, and in our nail condition. So noticing how your nails are, how sensitive your eyes are, and eye issues you might have, and how resilient your tendons are, gives us a good indication of the energy of our liver. Its functions are it stores blood and it governs the flow of qi, right? That's such a small description for what I just showed. But the fact that it governs the flow of qi is going to come into such an important function in a second. We're going to describe that. But what I wanted to show here is a lot of people understand what qi is, it's life force. But I always like to give the candle analogy. And if you were here with us last month, we went over this because the kidneys are the jing and the liver is the qi. And then we're going to get into the shen later. So if you have a candle, okay, you have the candlestick, you have the flame, and then you have the radiant glow of light. The actual jing is the actual candlestick, okay? That would be your kidneys. It's the actual physicality right there. It's that structure. The flame is your qi. That's your life force, okay? And then the shen, we're going to get into later. That's radiance. One thing to know is that peak hours that you're going to notice a lot of disturbances are from 1 to 3 a.m. So what might you notice at 1 a.m. to 3 a.m.? Waking up for no reason, or waking up for reasons that we can probably relate back to a liver imbalance. So always make sure you're telling your practitioner if you're waking up between 1 and 3 a.m. because there's some very specific things that are probably going on. Okay, here we get into some fun stuff about the liver. So these are my drawings, which are not fantastic, but we can understand them. And it's always good to have a visual so we can really get into this. Your liver is responsible for planning and creativity. So planning and creativity as well as instantaneous solution. So if you have a problem and you're able to come up with an instantaneous solution without panicking, without worrying, with kind of like, you can kind of just pull in, that is your liver function energy. Sudden insights, they actually work, not make-believe. Okay. Therefore, it is considered the general in charge of strategy. So people that are very good at strategizing, they might be a liver type, actually, in traditional Chinese medicine. So in traditional Chinese medicine, we have types. I personally, I'm a liver type. So a lot of these things you can relate back to me if you know me. But we all have liver energy, right? So this is true of all people, but of liver types, you're gonna be like, oh, that makes sense. I know that person that's like that. It's how the body's hun governs, right? So we'll get into this. Its positive psycho-emotional attributes are kindness, benevolence, compassion, and generosity. Okay. Its negative attributes are anger, irritability, frustration, resentment, jealousy, rage, and then depression. Okay. So when the liver is really balanced, you're going to be a kind, benevolent person for the most part. When the liver is imbalanced, you're going to have a lot of rage and anger and potentially burn that out till you get to depression. And what I like to go over with a lot of people is if you have somebody, family member, you yourself, anything like that, that at one point had a lot of rage and anger and now is more quiet and depressed, a lot of times people think that means they're getting better. I would say that is the opposite of the truth. Because if you go from rage or anger or frustration down into depression, that is a drop in energy. That is not an improvement. So a lot of times when people are taking a lot of different medications for different imbalances, it might be balancing those emotions in a certain way. And then as the person maybe comes off those medications, they start to kind of come up tone. And as they're coming up tone, they may become angry. And a lot of the family might be like, oh, put it back on the medication. But no, that's actually them expressing what is happening internally. And to medicate them again is going to drop them back down and really congest and hurt that liver, right? There's a resistance to fatigue when we have a really healthy liver. It's called the root of resistance to fatigue. When the liver is imbalanced, stagnant, or excessively hot due to suppressed emotions, you will experience extreme fatigue and physical weakness. So when the liver is rocking and rolling, really balanced, you'll have this resistance to fatigue. You'll be able to seem like you can do anything, like you can just keep going. But If there's stagnation there from toxicity, from infection, or from suppressed emotion, you will have extreme fatigue. That person that's like, I just can't do anything. I just can't, like, you don't understand, I can't. And they literally can't. So we need to work on that liver. We're going to start talking about the actual liver meridian. And I'm going to pull this up a little closer so you guys can maybe see. So the liver meridian starts at the big toe and it goes up the leg, and it has a very interesting trajectory. So we can kind of see how it's wrapping. It's coming, it starts down here and comes up. And then this part right here, because it's going to end up at the top of the head, there is an internal trajectory that we're going to go over in a little bit. But basically, it begins on the inside of the big toenail. It crosses the top of the foot, passes inside the ankle, up the inner thigh, through the groin, and then there it goes, circulates the external genitalia, and then it connects with the conception vessel, which goes right up the center line of the body, and around the lower abdomen. It dips into the rib cage, runs through the throat, and comes up through the eyes, and ends at the top of the head. We're going to go into more detail about that in a minute, okay? And the internal trajectory. But what we want to show here, and what I'm trying to show here, is that anger from the liver, it actually rushes from the liver over the back of the body and comes through. And if you've ever been with somebody that's really angry, or you yourself have felt that anger, it like comes up like a wave that crashes. And that trajectory is coming from that liver, causing this chi ascent. Okay, so this little energy ascent. And you felt that, right? You know, woo, here's where my drawing skills come into focus.
It's actually pretty good. It's actually pretty good.
Yeah. That's what we're trying to show here. You know, you don't have to be able to read this whole thing. But what we're trying to look at is, we have the aorta up here. You can see the hip bones down here. You can see the ascending colon. You can see the spleen up here, the descending colon right here, and the small intestine, okay? And all the thick, dark lines are veins. And what we're trying to show here, this is just a list basically of all the veins that are connected to the liver. Why is that important? Because the liver is basically affecting everything. It's not like, oh, I'm going to do a quick little liver detox and then everything's going to be okay. Honestly, we really want to take a deep look at what's going on in that liver, because it's so indicative of your overall health. It's fantastic to start with a little, if you want to dip your toes in and start with a little detox. But when we see everything that it is having an effect on, we really want that liver to be resilient and healthy and robust. And I have two little things here that you can see. It's crossing O and N, and you can refer down here, it's to the hepatic portal vein and to the hepatic vein. So basically all the blood in the body passes through that hepatic portal vein every 3 minutes. So when you're doing a coffee enema, which we'll talk about later, you're basically doing a form of blood dialysis, cleansing your blood in a way that almost nothing else does, okay? Why is that important? Well, one, we're going to get rid of that stagnation in that liver and gallbladder. But also, if you're taking a lot of herbs to release toxins in other areas of the body, we need to use coffee enemas like a sump pump to kind of take those things out. Okay. This is where we talk about that inner trajectory of that liver meridian. Okay, this is my cute little guy right here, and he's going to show what's going on. The liver meridian is parallel in complexity only with the kidney meridian. Why is that important? Why would I mention that? Because those two things, both our kidneys and our liver, our overall health is so incredibly tied to those two things. The kidneys will try to balance anything and everything that's going on in the body. And the liver, it's basically involved with everything else. So let's go over this. The liver meridian, like I said, is parallel in complexity only by the kidney meridian. And it's even more inclusive. It spirals around all of the yin organs. So that's the heart, the kidneys, the liver, the lungs, and the spleen. Okay? So it actually literally wraps around all of those. going around all of that. And you can see right here, that inner trajectory, how it's going up, which we'll go in a second, and then comes down and wraps around the lungs. So it provides an alternative route for the chi to pass from the liver to the lung meridian. So it's giving the lungs energy, it's giving it life force. Okay, it's an important role for all of the 12 meridians, okay, to have life force. All comes in part from that liver meridian. So right here is kind of cool. We can see the liver meridian passes up the up through the lungs and rises up the throat. And right there, that's so because it rises up the throat, right where the thyroid is, that's one of the connections of thyroid and liver. So whenever there's something imbalanced with the thyroid, we want to look at the condition and the energy of the liver to see what's going on there, because they're going to be paired in that manner, because that meridian goes right up and through it. And we make so much of our hormones in the liver. Okay, and then it rises, so it rises up the throat from the lungs, rises up the throat to the nasal passages to the nose. And so that is the allergy connection. Okay, so if we have allergies, there's something in that liver that we need to take care of. You know, you can take all the what is like Sudafed and stuff like that that you want, but you're just suppressing it. And what you're actually doing is driving those toxins deeper into that liver to feel better for the moment. But you're never actually helping yourself in that manner. So it's coming, you know, goes up from the lungs, up through the throat, up through the nose and the nasal area, up through the forehead to GV20. Okay, and GV20 basically governs the whole body. It's the top of the governing vessel. So, and then it goes down around the spine into the sacrum. And so I have a little note here. The health of our liver is going to be very indicative with the gallbladder to our cholesterol levels. Okay, and one of the first indicators that we have something going on with cholesterol is low back pain and low back stiffness, because that's the first area that cholesterol is going to collect in the vascular system. So it does that, and then it spirals around all the yin organs, and then it passes up the lining of the abdomen into and through stomach 12. So when we have digestive problems, okay, everybody wants something for the stomach or the gut. But if you have something going on with those, it actually started in the liver gall much prior to that. And so going after, popping a lot of digestive enzymes, you're going to have very, very limited results from that. You know, yes, I want you to take hydrochloric acid. And if you're a client of mine, you know that. But we also have to look at why you're not making it and look at what's going on in that liver gallbladder. Because once something's got to the intestines, it was in that liver gallbladder for years prior. Okay, so we want to go to the source, the root of the issue. And then, so after it passes into that stomach 12, it passes down lungs and comes out the lung meridian, right? Circulate up and down. So it's an interesting meridian in how it runs. It just doesn't run one way. It's coming up and then circulating around, right? Very indicative of that chi that has to flow through the whole entire system. Okay, so what are some common key factors for the liver that could be really affecting the liver? Low pH, number one. The thing is I'm going to stick to America. Our health is so indicative of two things: our pH and our digestion. pH and digestion. There is no reason, in my opinion, to take any herbal unless you're working on pH and digestion. We are in this nation dying because our pH is low and we can't digest our food, period. Every single client, if you were going to anybody worth their weight, that's the big statement, in holistics or in nutrition, if they're not working on your pH and your digestion, you're going to have incredibly limited results. These are the keys to actual great health and to helping reverse the things that are going on in your body. So if your pH is low, we're going to have a whole talk on pH, but if your pH is low, we're looking at that first morning urine before you drink or eat anything, and we want it in the 6.4 to 6.8 range, okay? It's showing us the potential hydrogen. It's showing us how much oxygen you're going to have cellularly, and actually how much minerals you have to do all the functions the body needs to do. So if it's low, it's not possible to be healthy. Not fully. It's not. If it's low, you are going to get cavities. You are going to have the body start breaking down at a much faster rate than it needs to. And if it's high, if it's above 6.8, then that's a warning sign for some other things that we'll get into in another class. But that's a warning sign. And then here's another caveat, and this is why pH is a very misunderstood part of our health. If it is in 6.4 to 6.8 range, but you have health issues, then it's probably a false positive. Okay, means it's probably not actually there. You're probably making ammonia to make it go there, and shortly it will be up higher in that warning range. Okay, and I've yet to witness a human being come into my office. Thousands of people have come in. I've seen thousands of clients that had a pH in range that was not taking supplementation. That was not, it's small children, because the food just isn't good enough. So when people tell me, yeah, but I eat a really healthy diet, it's not possible to do it that way. Your diet does need to be really healthy, but it's not possible, in my opinion, to get your pH into range. I've never seen it happen. Second, consumption of seed oils. We want to clear those seed oils out because your gallbladder, liver cannot process them. So we want to get rid of all seed oils. And that might sound really easy. It's not. Turn over any packaged food you have. Go out to a restaurant. Everything has seed oils. We want to completely remove them. And if I could, I would have you go to just coconut oil, a really, really high quality one, and to pasture butter. And then if for cooking, those two things. And then on top of your salad, make small amounts of a really, really good olive oil, but we're not going to cook with our olive oil. Okay. Then the third thing that can really be giving us an issue with our liver is parastress. So parasites, bugs in the system. And if there's bugs in the system, you're going to have a problem. You're just going to have a problem. And you want to eliminate those bugs out of the system, because if you don't eliminate the bugs out of the system, what's happening is you have, like, I'm going to use a metaphor. It's like having an open infection and just trying to put lipstick around it to look nice. Like you need to get the thing that's causing the inflammation out. Okay. Because the excrement from those bugs is going into the brain. So we want to clear that out. So parastress is a huge one. And here is an interesting thing. Ivermectin, right? Everybody wants to use ivermectin for parastress. It will not work on the most common bug that's usually in your liver gallbladder. Ivermectin does not work on Giardia or liver fluke. It won't touch it. And if you have those things, ivermectin can make you feel really, really sick. So there's a lot of people on the internet saying just take ivermectin, don't take any other kind of antiparasitic. And they are so wrong. It's people going on the internet looking for things and trying to do it themselves when they only have part of the information. Okay. I'm not anti-ivermectin in any way. I'm not giving it to you, but I'm not anti. I'm just saying it's not going to help you with what's going on with your liver. It's just not. Frequent alcohol. Frequent alcohol is going to really affect that liver. We know we have a huge issue with fatty liver syndrome in America. And most people will think of alcohol. Actually, we do have an issue with that, but even more so, fatty livers are coming from white flour and white sugar. So when our insulin levels are too high, we are creating an issue where we're having a fatty liver, and we need to clean that diet up. Literally eliminate white flour, white sugar. Just eliminate them. They're not helping you in any way, and we want to get the liver inflammation to come way down. Okay. So what do we do? What can we do for those beautiful livers? One, let's get our pH in line. Let's take minerals. Okay, I'm usually going to suggest across the board for most people to take a really beautiful greens powder that has the fiber intact. You want something that has oat grass in it because that is going to help with our hormones and pulling out those false hormones that we don't want in the body. So I would start with that, and it's quite a bit more than you would think. A lot of people are taking like 1 or 2 teaspoons. I'm saying you're going to need tablespoons. Okay, tablespoons. There are other things we can do for minerals, and if we have a one-on-one, we can talk about it. But across the board, a greens powder is excellent. Okay. 2, digestive support. Without digestive support, you're not going to be able to utilize a lot of these things. So digestive support, you're going to want HCl, hydrochloric acid, without anything added. Because, you know, if you're going to go to a store and you're going to turn over a bottle and it's going to have the pepsin in it, something else, that doesn't really work because the HCl has aided in the cap. Maybe it was there when they manufactured it, but as soon as it went on that shelf, the HCl ate the other things inside the cap. So we want a pure form of betaine hydrochloric acid. Then we want to work on digestive enzymes, okay? And across the board, most people should be taking a digestive enzyme, especially if they're over 30. But I even give them to people that are younger so that we're not using ours up, okay? 3, we want to support that liver. We want to nourish it. Okay? We want to really get into nourishing with either sedation or tonification. So if the liver, if you're a very, very fiery person, you might need to actually sedate some things. And if the liver energy is weak, we might actually have to tonify and nourish it, right? So some ways in which we can do this are max stress B. So we want to use a B vitamin that is not a petrochemical, and most of them on the market are petrochemical. So something like this, which is one step away from being methylated. So if we have a methylation issue, let's talk, because there are other things we can use, but usually we are going to be able to get here because a lot of people think if I can't methylate, all I need to do is take some methylated B vitamins. No, if you can't methylate, you need to clean these things up. You need to clean that liver out. 100%, we need to clean the liver. We need to clean the body out so that we can start methylating. We need to take some hydrochloric acid so that we can start methylating, because we're born with a certain amount of methylation groups and we're using them up too fast. Gallbladder ND. So gallbladder ND is something that's going to go in and can tonify that liver gallbladder channel. So really, really beautiful. Mediclave X. So Mediclave X is calcium aluminum silicate. This has the ability to go in and bind to a lot of the funguses, molds, mold spores, persistent organic pollutants on our foods. And we definitely want to bind to those because those are collecting there. It's also the #1 thing I would say to take alongside a nut butter. If you're going to eat a nut butters are moldy across the board. So if it's been more than 3 days since you've made that nut butter, it is moldy. You might not be able to see it, but it's going to have aflatoxins on it. So you want to use something like Mediclave X to bind to that if you're going to do that. I suggest this at every meal, especially if you're eating out. But even if you're eating at home, we still have those persistent organic pollutants on our food. What are persistent organic foods? Persistent organic pollutants, fungicides, pesticides, insecticides, and yes, there are some even on our organic food. You do want to eat organic, but on our organics in America, we do have some things that we still want to bind to. Things like liver ND, which is a fermented turmeric, which is really going to help that liver tremendously. Or things like fermented mushroom. The key here is you can try some of these things, and these are all good for everybody. Coming in and getting tested and see what your liver really needs is going to be so much better. It's going to be so much better. It's like lock and key. Why would we not do lock and key? Because what I find is most people trying to do things on their own, gather information, and then do things on their own are actually going to spend more money overall and not get the results. That's what's going to happen because you're just picking and choosing from random information. When we go in and we actually see what you need, I would much rather somebody come in, get tested for one thing, let's give you the one thing, or let's get you on a full program, right? And we have a whole range in between. But we do want to use that lock and key. The next part, we really should only do with lock and key. We should really only do it for getting tested. It's detox. Let's detox that parastress. Let's detox that fungus, that mold, those petrochemicals. Specifically, if we're looking at petrochemicals, we can start working on some taurine. beautiful, like in Ayurveda, you can use tadka because it will turn into taurine in the liver gall. But we actually can just give you some taurine, which is a sulfur-based amino acid, to help start pulling those petrochemicals out. What are petrochemicals? Most people have them from the toxic body care that they've used in their lifetime that gets stored there, from literally just exhaust from cars if you live in town, all kinds of things. Most people need to eventually do that. And we also want to get rid of excess rock forms of iron that are stored there. So here's an interesting thing. If you have, just grab my drink, if you have low iron levels or iron levels that are too high, there's a couple of things that are probably going on. You probably at some point ate that white flour and that white sugar that is for the white flour is fortified with iron. So think about kids eating cereal. You know, a parent buys the box, it's like, oh my gosh, this is so good for them. It's fortified with all these vitamins and minerals. That's all rock form of vitamins and minerals. Your body can't use them. It actually stores them and does damage. So when you're eating a rock form of a vitamin or mineral, it's going to get stored, and now your body can't absorb what it needs. So it's doing double damage. It's not giving you what you need, and it's blocking you from getting what you need. Once you've eaten a lot of white flour, white sugar, which most people in America have, you have to chelate it out. It doesn't just come out because you stop eating it. So if you ate white flour and white sugar as a kid and you aren't now, a lot of clients will say, well, so that should be all good. No, it's in there. And that's what starts to affect the adrenals and starts to affect our energy levels. So things you can do at home will be to start to eat Turkish apricots, organic Turkish apricots, the ones that are brown and don't have sulfites on them. You want to do that for about 2 months. And then you can start eating organic prunes to start replacing that iron. For some people, they're going to need to be on some kind of iron supplement. We don't want to do a rock form of iron supplement. We do want to do real plant source, because those rock forms, again, they're just going to create that same problem again. So a lot of times when we're having any issue with iron, I want to take a look at the diet. I want to take a look at what we need to chelate, and then we want to replace it. Then we can get into awesome fun stuff like gallbladder flushing, coffee enemas, castor oil packs. These are all fantastic. A lot of people are touting this on the internet, right? That's great. It's getting traction. It's getting word of mouth out, right? But the issue is this. If we start doing a gallbladder flush and we don't do that correctly, you might feel, it's a little dramatic, but you might feel like you're dying. It is really challenging to do a gallbladder flush, especially with the information that they have out there. So you want to be working with somebody, in my opinion, when you're doing a gallbladder flush. Coffee enemas. Again, if you're doing a coffee enema, we have the absolute best coffee. We have a new coffee, mold-free. It is pristine. It is one of the only ones that I can recommend now. Old ones we used to recommend, that was so many years ago that we're not testing those anymore. So I can no longer recommend them. We have a fantastic coffee. But coffee enemas need to be done and paired with a tincture that you're taking for a while to soften that material so that you can then clear it out. If we're just doing them on their own, they're going to have very limited results, right? We want to be working with somebody so that they can walk with us through this process of softening that material and then helping it move out of the body. Castor oil packs are wonderful. You can go ahead and start castor oil packs. Here is a caveat. Do not reuse your castor oil packs. And I know they're selling reusable castor oil packs out there and everybody's like, woohoo, these are awesome. Don't do that. Why? What does castor oil do? It goes in between the cell to pull out toxicity. Where's that go? Into the cloth. And then you're just going to keep reusing that. What do you think's happening right there? You're not helping yourself. You need to use new cloth every time you do a castor oil pack. We don't save our castor oil packs. You know, they used to like wrap the cotton flannel up and put it inside the castor oil and just let it sit there, and then you just reuse it every time. And I know there's a lot of popular brands out there now selling things on Amazon and all over Instagram, reusable until it gets really gross, then buy a new one. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. It is not helpful. And then we want to get into what can we do, because we talked about both the psycho-emotional and how everything going on with the liver has to do with the ligaments and tendons, right? So one thing we can do is the meridian method, liver gallbladder, um, paired what I call fascia resistant stretching. And so anybody listening to this, you're going to get a video that has those two exercises on it. And please start with them. You want to, when you're doing them, to work as if you're working through mud. Because the thing is that the fascia is extremely challenging to clear the adhesions. And if the adhesions are along the liver gallbladder channel, then what's going to, or going up the liver gallbladder channel, which we looked at today, they're going to be affecting the liver gallbladder. And if your liver gallbladder is having a problem, I'm guaranteeing you there are adhesions all along those lines. So it's a great way to start your day is to do these two little exercises. That's really, really helpful. Okay. And you all get those with this. Then we're also debuting a great way to dip your toes into starting to cleanse the liver. Okay. We have a new kit coming out, and anybody that is watching this is going to get a 15% discount on that kit. If anybody, I'm sorry, anybody that purchased this is going to get a 15% discount on that kit that is going to be launching next week. It's a way to dip your toes in and start some of these nutrients and start some of these ancient practices that really are therapeutic for the body. Okay. And it's going to come with a little booklet that gives you tips and tricks and things that you want, not tricks, tips and instructions for everything that you're going to want to do to start working towards a really healthy liver. Also, as you know, if you purchase this, you also get a coupon code for booking appointments with us. Okay. That is good for 1 month. Okay. So book soon. And if you have questions on any of this, feel free to reach out. I'm going to ask questions for people here now. Does anybody here have questions? Do you have any? We went over a lot of stuff.
How long would you say in general? I know everyone's specific, but like to do all these things to clean up your liver, to get kind of back on track. We're talking years.
Okay. So very, very good question was just asked. How long are we saying that it's going to take to clean up our liver? I would ask a different question. Asking a question in that manner, which is great, thank you, tends to be overwhelming. It's like, how long is it going to be till I'm healthy? Screw it, I'm doing nothing. And that's a really good way to get out of working on the things we need to work on. What I would say is, how long does it take to start to notice a difference? Okay, it takes about a couple of weeks to start to notice a difference. For some people who have digestive issues, they might start to notice a difference at the first dose of intaking nutrients and doing a few different things, or within 3 days. You know, when somebody does a para-stress detox, they usually notice a difference within the first week, depending on which kind of para detox we're doing. Usually the one that's affecting the liver, we will immediately feel the brain fog lift within about 3 days, and we will immediately start to feel digestion getting better. Okay, because these bugs are usually pressing through the esophagus and causing a lot of burping and belching, so what are some signs that there may be something going on in the liver? Is that you might have a lot of burping and belching. You might be waking up between 1 and 3 a.m. You might have a lot of anger outbursts. They're not matching the situation, right? We all get angry. There's reasons that we can get angry, but we have to ask, is my reaction matching the situation? When it's not matching the situation, that's when we have a problem, right? We might have really a lot of tightness or stiffness in the whole entire body. As soon as we remove the seed oil, we start to notice a difference in that within a couple of days to a week, of being a lot more flexible and a lot more pliable. When we start doing, a lot of times people, if they start coffee enemas, they notice a difference, if not from the first one, from the second one. Because here's the thing, first coffee enema, depending on our lifestyle, could actually not in any way hurt us, but you could notice some nausea or something, depending on if you have had a lot of toxic oils in your life, you know. So you'll start to notice a difference within a week. How long do you have to work on yourself? I think that's the question that you're asking because that gets overwhelming to you. I would say, here's the thing, as long as you're alive, you're working on yourself. There's no time that you reach perfection. Do you have to work on yourself as deeply? No. When you reach a place where you feel as though I feel really good, then you do maintenance, right? But everybody's going to get to maintenance at a different rate depending on how sensitive they are. People that are very sensitive have to work slower. We can't go in with a hammer on somebody who's very sensitive. And people with lots of health issues, we're gonna go one by one. And so this was a question that I had by somebody that is watching this tonight. They were like, how do you know, like, if you need a vegan diet or if you need a carnivore diet, or if you need a paleo diet? Well, for me, you're coming in and we're testing what you need at this point. Because what worked in your past may not work now because you're not the same person now that you were 10, 20, 30 years ago. You're just not. And so say that a paleo diet has worked for you in the past or a carnivore diet has worked for you in the past, but right now there's a kidney imbalance. I can't do that with you. We're going to have to do a plant-based diet for a little bit. But in general, we're just testing the person to getting on a whole food diet, removing some of these major issues, and then we're going to go as deep as the client wants to go. But never get overwhelmed with how far, because these things can be really, really fun. When you start feeling really good doing these things, you want to do them. So I would say it's more of a emotional reset thing that you need to come to, because
Yep.
because here's the thing. If we're looking at, oh my God, I have to go exercise today. I don't want to do it. It's going to be blah, 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 blah. That's one perspective. Or, hey, I get to go do this because I love to do it. What we want to do is get you to a place where everything feels like I want to do this. I want to do good things for my body, right? Okay. But if you're talking about specifically parastress, the parastress that goes on in liver gallbladder is usually 1 to 2 months. Parastress in the intestines is usually 3 to 6 months. And parastress in the vascular system is usually anywhere from 45 days to 3 to 6 months. It just depends on what's going on with that person and how fast or slow we need to work depending on their constitution. Does that make sense? Any other questions? I know I'm having a little issue with my board. It kind of is bent, but okay. Ooh. So thank you very much, and make sure that you use your coupon codes, that you get in for the new launch of our mini detox for the liver, and use your coupon code obviously to make an appointment, and we're going to take care of you. Okay, bye guys.